Thank you for tuning into Unlock Me Today's live event series, where we are conversing with thought leaders, founders, and CEOs about their journey and how they are unlocking the true potential of folks around them. Evening, afternoon, and morning, based on where you are from. This is your host, Prashant. And before I get any further, I would like to emphasize on the true purpose of this event. We aim to unlock the true potential of folks who are in constrained environments, maybe not able to get enough time to connect to their role models, maybe unable to break through their extremely preoccupied, mundane life, or maybe the internet buzzwords are adding friction to harness positive changes. No matter what the reason, maybe there is value in staying towards the end of this event. And before I introduce you to our guest speaker, Robertson Hunter Stewart, I would request you all to put a comment from where you're joining. It helps us to make sure that we are covering examples which are in context of your region as well. Okay, thank you so much for showing this love here. And so today's guest speaker is Mr. Robertson Hunter. With over 3 decades of hands-on experience, Rob has successfully led teams ranging from 100 to 800 employees, making a remarkable impact in various organizational settings. His extensive background includes serving as general manager of 𝗯𝗲𝗄𝗃 𝗔𝗂𝗁, overseeing a hotel with 1025 rooms and team of 750 employees. And Rob has also held key leadership roles at Disneyland Resort and Warwick International Hotels, showcasing his strategic prowess and global perspective. He has authored 4 books, and each book is very focused for leadership development and hacks how you can get better and 10x your productivity and your team's productivity at work. Without any further ado, welcome to the event. Rob, how are you doing? Where are you today?
Doing fantastic, Prashant. Thank you once again for your invitation. Very, very pleased to be here today. And I'm speaking to you from a very rainy Paris, France today. Still beautiful, but it's raining.
First, man, thank you for being on the event. There are folks here who have joined globally. They are typing in from where they have joined in, and they've all been looking forward for this event, Rob. They've been waiting for you. Today's topic and discussion is difficult conversations at work. And what's new in 2024 in this aspect, Rob? Because things have changed. Post-COVID, things have changed. Employment models have changed. Leadership teams have changed. Before we go any further, my question to you is, what are difficult conversations at work? If you can brief in about that.
Well, there can be a lot of reasons, of course. There could be multiple reasons for having a difficult discussion at work. It could be something as simple as someone asking for a pay rise, and you don't know how to deal with the conversation. You don't know how to plan this conversation with the person. Mm-hmm. It can be something to do with a disciplinary measure, for example. You're going to have a difficult conversation, obviously, if you're in a disciplinary situation. The situation is going to be difficult anyway. Or it can be something very simple, like you just have to give some feedback, but not on a serious matter then, but just on a matter where it might be something to do with the person's behavior. So when you tend to speak about someone's behavior in place of speaking about their skill, it can then become very difficult to make sure it doesn't become personal.
Personal, yeah. And Is this a acquired skill, or anybody can be good at it? Or help us decrypt that as well.
Well, I think there's actually there are 2 things. I mean, there are we can speak about this later. There are some very, very well known techniques which people can apply, and I teach those techniques to, for example, to master students or to young managers. Well, not just young managers, also to leaders and CEOs who don't know how to give feedback. So I teach them these skills. But so there are actually technical ways to do it, models which exist.
Got it.
So that's one thing. So I can give those models, and I'll give examples of those during our talk today.
Sure.
And also, then of course, it's experience, and it's also having experience and using these models. And I strongly suggest when you're first doing this to really stick to the models, stick to planning your conversations, and don't get involved in any reactive situations. You better be an actor and not reacting to situations. Yeah.
Well said. And it's a reminder to all the senior leaders as well, because in the heat of the moment, things break, things crack.
Yeah, they most certainly do.
Yeah.
And I think we've all, I mean, if we're honest, I mean, we've all been involved in very difficult conversations and during our lives, you know, whether in a personal life or in a work situation. But we're here to talk about work situations today. One of the very first things I would say to people is it's not because someone invites you to an argument that you have to attend. Yeah. And that's very important because it's to do with not reacting. You know, if someone, for example, you're not ready to have a conversation, just give yourself some time. You can always say to someone, well, listen, I'm not ready to discuss that right now. Why don't we make an appointment and discuss that next week? For example, someone's asked you for a pay rise, you weren't expecting it, or someone's asked you for a promotion, you weren't expecting it. Someone's just insulted you and you weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
So, of course, you know, and then you say, oh, listen, you know, in view of what's been said, I think we need to take a step back and just let's make an appointment and let's talk about this situation. Let's get this smoothed over and let's get it sorted out. Yeah. And give yourself time. Because if you don't give yourself that time, it's like so often these difficult conversations can be under the form of a negotiation. And in any kind of negotiation, you're not going to have a negotiation with someone unless you've had time to plan.
I agree.
And so that's crucial. Give yourself time to plan, you know, and make sure, you know, I'll give a very, very concrete example. You know, someone's asked for your pay rise and you don't think they deserve it. Well, it's no use thinking whether someone doesn't deserve it or not. What you should be doing is saying, listen, we'll talk about this next week. Let's sit down and have a chat about this in my office, you know, not next to the coffee machine. Let's sit down and take this seriously and let's have a discussion about this next week. And during that time, you go and look at the person's last 3 or 4, you know, evaluations, you know, appraisal interviews. And that way, you know exactly what you're going to be talking about, you know, whether the person does deserve it or doesn't deserve it. And you can actually then plan how you're going to tell the person, yeah?
Right.
And what you're going to do during this conversation. So it always reminds me of the 5 P's of planning, you know, proper planning prevents poor performance. And it's the same in difficult conversations. You don't plan it properly, and you don't give yourself time to plan, you're going to make the conversation even more difficult for yourself.
Yeah, proper planning prevents
poor performance.
Poor performance. Okay, I'm writing it down and making a note of it. You know, it's easy to, say these are mental models, right? 5 P's.
Yep.
Proper planning prevents poor performance. My question is now, what all goes wrong if a difficult conversation is not done right? Of course, we need to prepare, look at the background, history, and what happens if we don't do it in the right way?
Well, what happens normally is it turns into an argument, and sometimes instead of a conversation. And then once people's emotions are involved, of course, then sometimes it can become nonsense very quickly because, in fact, there's no positive outcome. It's just basically 2 people arguing about something. There's actually you're not finding any common ground or finding any solution to what you're talking about. Yeah, just making the situation worse. And you know, whether people. And that's one thing that's very important for managers. We talk about stress and how to deal with stress. But a manager has to be able, in a position always, or a leader has to be in a position always to ensure that they are they control their emotions at all times. Yeah. So you must not let yourself get emotionally involved, even to the point if someone does insult you. This has happened to me several occasions all through my career. People insult you and you say, yes, okay, why do you say that? just remain calm. You don't start getting excited. If you need to if you need to make a term to the meeting and say, listen, this is going nowhere at the moment, let's take a pause and let's see each other again in 2 days once everyone's calmed down and regained their spirit. I mean leur esprit, you say in French. So give people time to calm down and use that time to think about what you're talking about.
And most of the times the heat of the moment is when the crime happens, right? So either we do a personal comment, a personal remark, or just say something which just breaks everything, which is beyond salvage.
Well, one of the common mistakes, and you're dead right. I mean, one of the common mistakes that people say is actually when they're actually trying to give some feedback to someone, they'll talk about the person themselves instead of the observed behavior, which is a huge mistake. So, like, for example, you got someone that's, I don't know, being late every single day of their life at work. Right? You see them, you're not in a good mood. You first thing in the morning say, "Hey, Jim, you're late again. You're so lazy. You're just getting on my nerves now, right? You're just so lazy, right?" Well, actually, Jim might not be lazy at all.
Right.
Maybe Jim's got a massive problem to get there on time, and you don't know anything about it because you never spoke to him about it. Yeah. So
true.
don't let your emotions overcome logic. Yeah. In those cases. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just ask the question. Yeah. Is there a problem, Jim, that I should know about? Is there something going on? Can you tell me? Just ask the question. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's and in fact, it's one of the I mentioned earlier about techniques. Yeah. There's a very useful technique when you talk about this, which is when you observe behavior, when you have to give feedback to someone. Let's imagine that most of the time it's going to be positive behavior, but we're talking about difficult discussions, right? So you can use a model called the SBI model. Yeah, it's the situation behavior impact model. So basically, if I said to Jim, let's take Jim again. Yeah. So Jim, during the meeting yesterday, although you were late, yeah, there were not only that, but during that meeting, this is the behavior I'm going to describe now. You were constantly interrupting other people. And the impact of that was that other people stopped participating in the meeting. And of course, this led to a downfall in our brainstorming capacity. And we didn't get any ideas out of this meeting. And in actual fact, the meeting turned out to be useless. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And you've just done an SBE. So you've described the situation, which was the meeting yesterday. You've described his behavior. It was both being late and interrupting people during the meeting. And then you explained the impact that had on the other people at the meeting. Yeah. So it's a very easy way to give, if we can say, negative feedback. Although we should always consider that there's no such thing as negative feedback. But that's just what we call. I call it. Yeah.
Wow, that is so easy.
Yeah.
In my country, SBI is a bank, so I'm not going to forget that. It's SBI. So it's situation, behavior, and impact. Okay, so you know what? Difficult conversation is one thing what a manager can prepare for, but what kind of preparation the other person has to do?
Well, difficult conversation. I mean, as a manager, you should always try and ensure that, if you're going to discuss something important with someone that might have, for a consequence that there's going to be disagreement at some point. Yeah. And you know this in advance. Make sure the person knows in advance, what you're going to be talking about. Because it would be unfair to, for example, you call someone to your office and say, listen, we're going to speak about your behavior. You just call them to office and then tell them what a terrible job they did yesterday, and they have no idea why they're coming to the office. Because people don't normally, when you get called to an office, they're going to think immediately, they're going to think, oh, I must have done something wrong. And they'll start to worry about it. But if you tell them, listen, we're going to have to discuss your constant lateness. This is what the discussion is going to be about. And we're going to discuss this tomorrow morning, or we're going to discuss this tomorrow afternoon. And we'll do this in my office at 2:30. Yeah. They know exactly why you're there. And they don't need to ask you, why am I here? Yeah. Because that's happened so many times.
Right.
And that really causes a problem. Yeah. If someone doesn't know why they're being called or why they're going to a meeting. Yeah.
And also, what happens in a difficult conversation? For instance, okay, you are prepared. You are a manager. You're a leader. You had done all the preparation, got all the history, put in the model, documented so that you can be effortlessly referring to that and having a conversation. I want to know what should be the tonality like. What kind of body language one has to keep? Because sometimes, people may be saying words, but their body says, okay, they're not meaning it.
Yeah. Well, this is practice makes perfect, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, the discussion is not meant to be about what we call neuro-linguistic programming, yeah? But NLP. But there is one simple thing that comes out of NLP, which is what we call mirroring. And it's basically, when you're in a serious context, in a serious situation, it's all about, keeping eye contact, moving forward when the person moves towards you, watching, being very observative, because we all know that body language represents 70% of the communication, So, and then the tone of the voice, your tone of your voice represents 20%, and the words you use only represents 10% of this communication, So you still have to choose your words carefully. But what's more important is to be able to modulate your voice and modulate your behavior so as you show to the person, you really show you're listening. It's very obvious. I mean, when people are doing some things like head nodding, when the person's explaining, instead of just saying, no, I'll stop you there. Well, you do if they're swearing or something. But then head nodding, keep eye contact. Keep your hands open. Keep an open posture. Lean forward towards the person. You're not drawing away from the person. This shows lots of negative things like fear, for example. So you shouldn't be doing that. But it's basically having the correct posture, and the correct posture involves your voice, involves the way you're holding your body, the way you hold yourself. And with confidence, of course, because of course the person you're discussing with is, if they see any sign of the enamel cracking, let's say, and that you're under pressure and you start to, I don't know, you start to lose what you're saying, or you can't think about what to say next. And remember that most of the time, one of the easiest ways to get someone to relax who is having a problem and who is being aggressive, for example, is to listen to them. It's not to interrupt them. It's not to, let people get to the end of what they got to say and then reformulate what they just said. If I understand correctly, what you've just said to me is that I've been unfair because I've expected this from you. And in fact, you had no prior warning to being asked to do this task. Is that correct? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, it's that, or it's not. But at least reformulate, and at least have some of these common communication skills to allow the person to express themselves. Because if you do not allow them to express themselves at all during the discussion, you're going to find yourself in a position where the person is just going to become more and more aggressive,
emotionally overwhelmed, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a method, I talked about the SBI method already. There's another very common method, as I promised. There's a couple of methods. So this is the next one. It's called the desk method. And it's really for, not like SBI, which is a situation, behavior, impact. So that's really when things aren't too serious. But if you're involved in a serious discussion, a serious conversation, you can then use what's called the desk method. That's DESC. So it's describe, express, specify or solution, and then consequences. Now, what happens here is that when someone's done something, like, let's say someone's been extremely, let's say you've got an aggressive person anyway. Let's take a difficult example, and this person's being extremely aggressive with their teammates, and you've observed this behavior, and you're not happy with it, of course, and you're a leader, so you can't just decide to ignore it and let it get sort itself out. You have to deal with it. So you said to the person, okay, I want to see you, your behavior is not acceptable, I need to see you. And make an appointment, tell them the behavior is not acceptable, and you need to see them about this. Don't get involved in a discussion straight away.
Right.
When you do see them, then describe what you observed. For example, I observed the other day that you became extremely aggressive with your teammates. Although it was in back office, some of the guests heard this outside. Some of our clients heard this, and in fact, it was to the point that you were causing some fear, which was quite obvious that people were actually scared, became scared of you, and we could see that. It was quite obvious looking at this from outside. So that's what I'm telling you happened yesterday, and to be honest with you, and here you can express disappointment. You can use some form of emotion here. You can say, and I actually am not only surprised, I'm actually quite shocked by this behavior. I have to let you know, I'm actually shocked by this behavior. That the result is what's happened here is that it's going to cause a major problem within the team, as you know. Now, what needs to happen, and then we were on the S, so you've expressed yourself, you've described the situation, you've expressed yourself, and then you specify, specify what has to happen next. Now, here is the trick. So in view of what I've said to you, what solution? You don't ask them if you have a solution. You say, what solution do you propose? Or have you got several solutions to propose to me? This is very important. You give them the chance to actually find the solution and specify what the solution will be. If they can't find that, you give them time to do that. If they can't find that, then you give them the solution. And the solution would probably in that instance would be, listen, I think you need some help with your stress. You seem to be too stressed. Would you like to see the work doctor? Would you like blah, blah, blah? There's lots of things we can say. It might not be that. It might just be that the person is just too aggressive. It's not acceptable. And it might be more pointing towards something disciplinary. In that case, you're straight into the C, and the C is the consequences.
Right.
Now, the consequences of the desk model, at the end of the discussion, what you're basically telling the person, once they've had a chance to discuss during specify, and you've specified what should happen next, or agreed to what should happen next, then the consequences. So, as agreed, if everything goes to plan and you get some help regarding this, aggressivity and this anger management course that I've suggested to you, yeah, and we go through that and we see your marked improvement, and it becomes obvious. Well, of course, the consequences are going to be positive, yeah.
Right.
This will make you feel better at work for yourself and for the others, and you can talk about the. However, if this should not be the case, the next time that we see each other, we will actually be in more of a disciplinary situation. I'm afraid that we can't let this continue, and that it will be a disciplinary conversation the next time we see each other. If we do have to see each other again regarding this, do you understand? And that's the end of the discussion. And you do not let the person, once they've had time to express themselves and specify, if they want to rediscuss again, I'm sorry, the discussion is closed. Please, thank you very much for your time. If we need to discuss this once again, I'll let you know. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's interesting.
There's no interruption. You don't allow yourself in that situation. You can't allow yourself to be interrupted. Yeah.
Got it.
Except at the specify stage, where they have to obviously tell you whether they have a solution or not. Yeah. This is when we're talking about something very serious. Yeah. Very bad behavior. Yeah.
Right.
We're not talking about just giving a little bit of feedback on something you noticed. Yeah. With the SBI model. Yeah. This model is more for a serious case. Yeah.
Got it. What do you suggest on the documentation side, right? Because something serious needs to be also documented because it has consequences, right? It's not like the manager or the leader wants to do all this, but he is also an employee of the organization, and he's supposed to take care of these things very carefully and with due diligence. Yeah. So how about the documentation part?
Well, the documentation, I think, if really, I mean, it's just to make sure that you actually take notes, yeah. Because one thing, I mean, in all, and this goes for all aspects of management anyway, is that no one's got an infallible memory, yeah, myself included. Basically, sometimes you can be accused of having a goldfish memory. In fact, and this, if you are a goldfish, yeah, in front of your staff, this is going to be a serious issue, yeah.
Yeah.
A goldfish meaning you can't remember anything that people said to you, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a serious issue. And of course, one easy way to avoid that is just note things down. Make sure you take notes and formalize notes. Yeah. Make sure you tell the person, that you might be taking notes. But I wouldn't do that in these two situations I've just described. Yeah. You don't tell the person, that you're taking notes. Yeah. You just do.
Right.
Because the SBI doesn't require any notes. Yeah. To be honest. Yeah. The desk, yes, notes. Because you have to remember the conclusions and the consequences which were agreed upon. Yeah.
Right.
Because if there should be a next meeting where it does become a disciplinary issue, then you're going to need this information to continue on with the disciplinary action that you need to take. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
So I think it's crucial. And
you're absolutely right, because I always tell people that in an organization, it's like a movie. Everybody has a role to play and make sure that they're supporting the business. So the whole thing, any conflicts, any difficult discussions happening, they should also have a document in place. And there is a question which is coming to me, Rob, is that what if there's a discussion happening and the allegation is not true? but the manager is thinking that, no, they have a bias towards you. So what do you think about it?
Well, if a manager is suffering from, I would say suffering, I mean, I have to use the word, suffering from bias, basically they're just a toxic manager, in my opinion. That's at the end of the day, as I said earlier, you have to be able to take feedback, and even when people are excited and being aggressive and so forth,
right.
If you start to step outside your zone of professionalism, and you start to get involved in art and you become aggressive, then you've got it all upside down. You need to be able to deal with your own stress. You may do something after, go to the gym that evening, punch your punching bag, but you're certainly not going to do that in front of your staff member or in front of your the people you work with. I don't know if I answered your question really well there.
That is good input what you shared with me, and makes a lot of sense, because you've been doing this for, I don't know, for many, many years.
For 40 years. 40 years,
right? 4 decades. And every decade you might have got, learnings, and you have applied, and now you coach internationally. People buy your courses and also stay plugged in for that, because we tend to forget few things, and somehow we all have to keep reminders. I give you a very small example. We all know that we gotta drink like gallons of water every day, but we forget that. That is for our own body. This is like, taking care of your organization, taking care of your people, doing it the right way, and telling mental models like 5 P's, SBI, DESC. This is like memory, and people can just put it on their post-it and put it on next to their computer so that it's there in front of them. Because if things done right, everybody is happy.
Well, yeah, and I think what we said at the beginning, it's not because someone invites you to an argument you should attend. Yeah, I think that's very important, because at the end of the day, it's far too easy. I mean, we're all emotional creatures, yeah, and of course, I'm not going to say that I've never lost my temper. That would be lying.
Right.
But if I have, and when I have,
there are times at work when we have to do difficult discussions, and the lack of preparation is where it goes all over. We also have to set the right examples for our organization and people, because everybody likes to be transparent. Everybody likes to be, treated well. And Rob, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is because of my immense skills using a computer. I just switched the damn thing off.
Right.
We can't all be experts at everything, huh? So
yeah. So Rob, now we're talking about technology. So let me know if somebody has to do a difficult conversation with a remote employee in a different location altogether. What all things one can keep in mind? Because now the body language is very limited.
Well, one of the secrets, if you know the conversation is going to be difficult, whether it's going to be a negotiation about salary or whatever it's going to be, you're certainly not going to do a disciplinary interview over Zoom. I mean, that's just the worst. I mean, this is I wouldn't advise anyone to do that. If you've got something really to do, you have to see, like that, you should see the person in person. Yeah,
in person.
Yeah, in person. But if you have to, have a discussion which might be difficult, over Zoom, for example, there's some rules you have to respect. Like, for example, don't forget to give the agenda to the person before you see them, because this happens all the time on Zoom. Yeah. People tell people, I want to see you, and then they don't tell them what about. So that's one thing. So have an agenda like you would have in a real meeting,
right,
and not just a virtual meeting. The other thing is to insist that the person keeps their camera on, because obviously you're not going to have the same level of body language, but you're going to have some. You're going to still see the person's face. So this is going to help, during the discussion. And remember to, talk over the person, and just say what you got to say. Remember to ask questions, It's another thing people on Zoom forget to do. They forget to ask questions. They blah, 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 and they get to the end of an hour, I didn't let anyone ask any questions. So that's not a good way to do things.
Right.
And also, tell the person, that they're welcome. Well, welcome them properly to the meeting, as you would in any meeting, and basically give them the common courtesy of being able to speak during the meeting. I mean, I think the most important thing I said there really is to make sure the camera's switched on, because really, if it's like having a conversation on the telephone, if you can't see, you can still hear the person's tone of voice, because if I said to you, I'm really interested in being here today, Prashant. It's so exciting. Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm not excited. This kind of thing comes across very easily. But it's even better if you can see the person's face, because it might be a joke. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally agree with that, Rob. And you know what? This kind of difficult conversation, what we did was when we have to do with people who are not following certain things, what they're supposed to follow. But the other set of difficult discussion, and we got a comment as well, which we also had part of our agenda. How about, somebody is a bully at work?
Oh,
it could be your manager or somebody, maybe a peer, and now there is something which is bothering you to get the best out of you. That I consider that as a difficult conversation too. And now,
are we? Do you mean this time we're the employee? Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, the employee.
Okay, so
is correct, and maybe he has to deal with some bullies, and he has to report it somewhere, or maybe have a one-on-one conversation with his peer. That's one use case, or maybe his manager is a not very good one. I mean. Yeah.
Well, it depends, doesn't it? I mean, this really depends on a number of factors. It's very difficult to give a very clear answer to this, but I'll attempt to do it. Saying the following thing is basically, you have to know who your manager is. Yeah, if this is the case, So how he's going to react. For example, is it someone that can take any feedback? Yeah. For example, if you know the person's a narcissistic, it's got a narcissistic problem and is quite close to being a sociopath. Yeah. Certainly, it's probably not very suggested to actually, convene your boss to a meeting. That's not going to work. Yeah, because the person's going to be worse. So then you need help. Yeah, you have to put your hand up and ask for help there. However, outside of that, yeah, if the person is reasonable and can actually, someone's reasonable and can actually take feedback, yeah, then you should, in the first instance, try and speak to the person, yeah. And the way to put that to them is just say, listen, I really need to speak to you about something quite important, and it's, well, yes, but I don't have time. You'll get all the sort of answer, basically. And you say, yes, but it's critical for me. I'm really considering my future in the company, and I really need to speak to you quite seriously. Huh?
Right.
And I make sure the person understands it's going to be a serious conversation. It's not just a conversation about, I don't know how you cleaned the floor yesterday, yeah.
Right.
So that's important. And then in that conversation, yeah, make sure as an employee you're prepared, and you can, and make sure the same thing is it's about behavior, isn't it? Point out the behavior. Don't tell, for example, your boss, well, you're just a complete psycho. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? Right? I mean, that's just going to annoy the boss or the boss or the manager, whoever it is, however good they are. Yeah. Yeah. But to say that, listen, I've noticed several times recently, you've tended to be aggressive. And is there a particular reason for that? And ask questions, basically. Yeah. This is a good way. Ask questions, yeah. Don't make suppositions, yeah. Just ask questions like you would do from the other side of this conversation, yeah. And then you might get an answer which is quite simple, yeah. If that doesn't work, then you have to go back to square one, and then you have to ask for help, because at the end of the day, if this continues too often, too much, the employee or the person in the team member is going to become very stressed. And if that should happen, this can obviously lead to burnout eventually. So this is what we want to avoid at all cost. Yeah. Right. And if the person feels that this is happening, they need to get help. Yeah. And I'm talking I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but they need professional help. Yeah. And make a decision whether they should stay in this toxic organization or not.
Got it. Yeah, that's very well said, because even the human resources will look at the facts. And if there is something which cannot be proved as an evidence, but you still feel that you've been picked up or you get bullied, then I think you need to really seek some help.
I think the reason is because narcissists and people who are like this, their most formidable expertise is actually how to make people leave the organization, and they're experts at this. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but it's actually true. And that's their only expertise, in fact. And so with people like that, to get these kind of people to change, it's going to be very rare that's going to happen. Yeah. So if it's to that point, I think you're better out there, basically. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to just do an audience check if they are there. How are they feeling? Can you show us some love? We got some 90-odd people out here around the globe. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for you to show us some cheer. I really want to thank everyone here for joining in. It's been like around close to 40 minutes we've been in the session. And I know when we are talking, everybody is talking in their own minds. So what kind of questions you have, raise your hands. I see one hand raised, but anybody else has a question, prepare your question. And then we're going to give like 20 seconds to ask the question so that we can cover folks who have a question. So we have Mr. Robertson Hunter Stewart live here with us from Paris. 4 decades of leadership experience. Now he is a world teacher, and we're going to go with Leo as he's the one who raised the hand first. So Rob, we're going to take our first question. All right?
Great. Yeah.
Okay. So Leo, let us know where you're from, and you got like 20 seconds to put your question. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Prashant. Good morning, Robertson. It's really, really an honor to meet you. I've been following you for a while. How do decision makers, HR, and their EAP gather their resources to ask an employee who's struggling with an addiction to figure things out? Thank you. Thank you a lot.
Okay, this is a very serious case. Yeah, it's a serious. So there's what you're saying is there's being, if I understand correctly, Leo, you mean if someone is asking for help they've actually asked HR for help because of their addiction, if it's a drug addiction or an alcohol addiction. Is that correct?
Perfect scenario, yes. Unperfect scenario, how do the decision makers approach an employee? How do they gather their resources first before they sit down with that person?
Okay. Well, I think one thing that's very important here is not to replace any outside expertise. So the very first thing they have to do is an expertise check. Is there someone in HR who is actually an expert on addictology? Yeah, for example. And if there is not, yeah, they have to get an expert involved. Yeah, because they're not going to see a person who's got a serious addiction without having expert help. It's like me saying that I'm going to sit you down on the couch to have some kind of psychology session, as a psychiatrist, yeah, and have no expertise in the field. So I think they need to check that their level of expertise is at the good stage. They also need to do a background check to make sure before having a discussion with someone, yeah, that there actually is a problem. Yeah, I think they have to be able to observe the problem. So basically, to have actually observable facts to tell the person. Yeah, because basically, if you say to someone, for example, "Oh, we think you have an addiction problem," well, that's no use. I mean, it's really we have to be very very careful to ensure in a first stage that we're able to describe the behavior we've actually seen. It's been observable behavior, and to offer help to the person. This is the main thing. But in offering that help, there has to be expertise. Yeah, there has to be expertise. And if they don't have the adequate expertise, they have to get someone from outside involved, like a doctor who's an expert on addictology, for example. That would be my view.
What about addiction recovery coaches who have been on both sides of that? And thanks so much for your response, man. You're right on.
I think coaches can always be a good thing, because I think the thing is that a coach, someone asked me a question recently if I could coach Tiger Woods, in golf, and I said, well, of course I could, yeah, because I can see what he's doing, yeah, he can't see what he's doing himself, yeah. But of course, I'm exaggerating a little bit. I don't think I could be a good coach for Tiger, yeah. But we're in the same kind of field is that whatever the case is, I think someone that's got experience with addiction, yeah, would make a good coach, yeah. I think that would be the first thing. And I think the second thing would be, if I'm not wrong, I think the second thing would be you're able to observe the behavior from outside. So a coach is always useful, yeah, because they can see the signs if the person, how, and then pose the question to the person, what do you think we should be doing now about this, yeah? And help the person find their own answers too, yeah? Not just give them answers, yeah? I think so. I think that would be important.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leo, for your question.
Leo, did that help? Or you wanted to add or something? Because it's a very serious question what you ask, and this is a good discussion, and everybody has a takeaway from that. So I just wanted to...
I really appreciate the extra time, Prashant. Yeah, I'm a long-term alcoholic, long-term recovery. And addiction knows addiction, but addiction also knows how to offer help and how that recovery is possible. You want to give hope to both sides. So it's been a great conversation. I appreciate you both.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Over to you, Biswa.
Thank you, Prashant. Hi, Rob. Good morning. And on a lighter note, good night to Prashant. I had a situation. One of my manager, he came up with complaining about one of my team member, and she used to take a lot of leaves. And it's not like that she doesn't have leave, but she has. But now it jeopardizes the backlog what we're supposed to work on. Now, and a few months ahead, we have employee engagement coming in. So we had a crisis situation now, because if we give any kind of warning or give any kind of strong message, it will definitely impact on our employee engagement. So, what I did, I asked him to stay calm and try to find out who are the backups can take up the work when she is on off. But some part of my mind, it was still there that I should have done something strong, not to set up a precedence for rest of the team member. And I wanted to know, if it would have been you, Rob, how would you have managed it?
Well, I think, thank you very much for your question, Bijwa. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
It is.
Okay, good. Well, I think the very first thing is it's very difficult to answer a question like that. However, I will give you an answer. I would have a tendency to use what we described earlier as the desk method there, basically to describe to the person, what the situation is, then express, how you feel about this situation to the person. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's not a sign of weakness, but to express your disappointment in this situation, and to specify to the person that you feel, that they need to make a more of an effort. And you can always say at the end, if it's not going to come to fruition, then I'll have to look at other action, or other consequences. And I think that's fair, because it's called what I call fair warning, and then the person has no right. And also, the rest of the team, and you've made a very valid point, is the rest of the team can't be allowed to think, that there's a favoritism or special treatment, going on in the organization. So that's very important. So I think fair warning, but fair warning, fairly done, if I can say so.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks for.
You're very welcome, Vishwa.
Thank you, Biswa. All right, Zafar, over to you. Your question for Rob. You can unmute yourself now.
Hello, Prashant. Good evening.
Good evening, Zafar.
Am I audible?
Loud and clear?
Yeah, I can hear you, Zafar. Yeah, nice to meet you.
Thanks a lot for taking me on board. I'm really glad to see that important, very hot topics are being discussed, and because these are really substantial topics which require attention of the working class, especially people who are working day and night in an organization. So I'm really excited to see a very important, prominent people in contributing their views here.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Thank you, Zafar.
One thing I want to say that in today's environment, there is a lot of heat, were in the mental exposure of the people working in an organization is what really matters these days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and nosy bosses, toxic environment, they're impacting our lives, our mental health, emotional health. And there is a lot of abuse which has been noticed for several years now, and which requires a lot of attention. We need to.
No, I completely agree with you, Zafar. It's very well said. Yeah. Do you have a precise question on this subject?
Yes, I would like to know, how would you address the audience if there are some people who are facing these situations?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think it's, first of all, thank you very much for that, Zafar. It's very, very important what you've said. I think there is a lot of toxicity out there today. I think from the employee side, obviously we spoke a little bit earlier about having, not fearing to stick their hand up to ask for help. That's one thing that's got to be very, very clear for everyone. From the management side, I think it's a problem. A lot of the time can be a problem with, as we already discussed, people being narcissistic or having, basically some kind of psychological issue. So that can be the case in terms of some toxic managers. Other times it doesn't need to be that, but it can be, for example, just simple micromanagement or mismanagement. And most of the time, in my management life, what I've seen is a lack of training, for managers. So a lot of managers are basically dropped in to management, or let's say parachuted into management positions, but actually don't have any idea how to manage people. Now, I'll give you a concrete example of this, because this caused a bit of a toxic situation in one workplace that I was in. Where I was, basically I was parachuted into an organization that had huge problems with staff issues, with the unions, and everyone was fighting, and there was terrible behavior going on every side, and it was awful. And basically what a lot of the time was happening, people were getting promoted to, basically because they got on well with the boss, not because they merited it, and so forth, and other people being treated badly, and there was no actual fairness in the organization. And we soon discovered the reason for this was because none, and I'm talking, quite a very big organization where the managers had not been trained, really not been trained how to do an evaluation interview with people, an appraisal.
Yes, that's right.
And it was a disaster. Basically, we had to take all the managers out and give them, they had all a 2-week training on how to carry out an evaluation process, what it meant, why it was important, why it had to be a completely objective process, why, for example, people had to be given their evaluation process, their evaluation questionnaire in advance and not receive this, on the same day, so the person's just sitting judging them, So that's awful behavior. So basically, a lot of the time, a lack of professionalism does lead, indeed, to toxic behavior. Because what happens is, I'll give you a very concrete example. This of one person who was in finance, doesn't matter where it was, a very, very excellent person in finance, and who was then given the opportunity to run the finance team. However, no coaching, no mentoring, nothing. So the person basically was struggling and was becoming extremely aggressive because they couldn't they couldn't manage their job of finance and the job of managing the team at the same time, because no one had actually given them any training on how to do this. So, for example, they were just opening their door, having an open door policy, and no structured one-to-one meetings or no structured appraisal processes with their staff. So nothing was structured, and it was just a big mess. But we managed to sort it out. But it took a while, because we had to train a certain number of people in the finance department, including the boss, on how to deal with management issues and how to become a manager, basically. Because he was brilliant at finance, but he just did not know how to talk to people. So, I hadn't been trained for that at all.
Thank you. This is great. Yeah, but that's a good example what you called out, and good way to address it, Rob. Meantime, let me ask folks, how are they doing? Are they still with us? Are you guys live with us? Give me a thumbs up here, folks. Show me some love. Do not hesitate to follow Rob and myself. Click on the bell button so that you get to hear discussions like these. Oh, wow. See, Rob, people are liking it. So that means we are making sense.
Good. I'm very happy. Very happy. Make some friends. It's very good.
Absolutely. All right, Chaitanya, over to you. And go for it, Chaitanya.
Good day, Robert.
Hi, Chaitanya. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So, one of the major nuisance that I am encountering these days is one, that you have passive aggression in people. No matter what level you are in, there is a lot of passive aggression. It makes up for the frustration that is boiling inside. The second one is the disconnectedness from their jobs. Now, both of them leading to a lot of hard conversations. And the more you try to avoid, the worse it becomes. So, from your experience, how have you been dealing with these two problems?
Okay, so passive aggressive and basically people becoming disconnected from their job entirely. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so passive aggressive. I mean, this is really it's quite a difficult one, because people, what they'll do is they'll become actors of their own basic downfall. What I mean by that is what they do is they'll they'll do everything to cover the aggression, but make sure to not go to the stage where they're going to be any disciplinary action, just enough, just at the limit of what's acceptable. So my first pass at passive aggressive, would be I would do a desk immediately. I would describe their behavior to them. I'd express my extreme disappointment with this type of behavior. And I would specify that I had to stop, and that if it didn't, there would be consequences, and the consequences would, of course, not be pleasant. Or they could be pleasant if the person changes how they're doing things. But it's also it reminds me of something, this passive aggressive thing about an expression. I loved this expression, which is it's basically about people with bad attitudes. The thing about a bad attitude, it's like having a flat tire. You have to change it before you go anywhere. And I always tell people that very directly, because they need to understand. Does continue. It's a no-win situation. No one's going to win, and it's particularly not them. So I think people have to understand that. The second thing with people becoming disconnected completely, I think that the most important thing here is to try and establish why, because it could be we can always imagine what the reasons might be, but we have to become experts in asking the right questions. And I always thought, to make sure that I have structured one-to-one meetings with all my staff, my direct reports. So I'll give you the example, was when I had like 800, 1,000 staff, I had like 12 executive managers who reported into me, and I would spend at least 3 hours every single month with each one of them, in what we call a one-to-one situation, where we would do a point on all the objectives, everything that's going on in the workplace and so forth, so that I knew those people, I knew exactly how they worked and how they functioned, So if there was a problem, I was able to treat it correctly and not just jump to conclusions, So that's extremely important, is to guard, a contact which is healthy, especially people that are reporting into you directly. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Rob, is there a difference? Say, suppose you are a consultant and you are operating out of a client situation. Does it change any of these approaches, or will it remain the same?
No, it remains the same. I've had cases where I've been coaching. Sometimes it's called hard love. For example, when you're coaching an executive who's just behaving very badly. I'm talking about CEO or COO. Yeah, just telling them the truth. So listen, your behavior is unacceptable. Yeah, get your turnover figures in your organization. Do you understand how much that turnover is costing your organization? Yeah, hit where it counts. Tell the person, that's costing you. Basically, there's a lot of stuff from Gallup on this about people who leave organizations. You're talking about a $4,000 to $5,000, and they're talking about entry-level positions, cost because of a recruitment, because of the selection process, because of the replacement, because of loss of productivity. So hit them where it hurts and tell them about it, Don't allow them to think that this is okay.
Brilliant. So nothing hurts like a loss.
Tell them it's going to hit their wallet. The CEO starts to change his opinion very quickly.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Chaitanya. Yeah.
I'm from the Cayman Islands. Thanks for having me on board. It's a great conversation. Just one quick question for me to yourself and Robertson. Let's say you have a manager, you have other colleagues that you're unable to manage and it affects the workflow of the organization. How do you deal with a situation like that? Whereas the manager should be monitoring the person's performance and, they're giving tasks and the employee is not completing it and it affects the workload of the project. You can't move forward because of the lack of performance from the other employee and the lack of supervision, so to speak, on the manager's side. So it's a difficult one. How do you deal with something like that, especially for a big organization?
Well, in a big organization, it's particularly... Well, thank you very much for your question. Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and I've had some experience with this, luckily. So I think most of the time what I've tended to do, if I have people that are, slacking, because basically the problem is with slacking, other people, if you mentioned a project, I think. So if you're in a project mode and you're working on a project and you've got several people involved and one of them isn't pulling their weight, well, basically they need to be told, but they need to be told in a very special way. They need to be told in a very special way. So I would say the person that's not pulling their weight, they have to take, of course, you're not going to do it in front of the team. That's the very first thing. You're going to do that one-to-one with a person. And what you have to explain is, we're coming back to an SBI here quite quickly, because it's what the situation is. So the situation is that the project is not advancing due to the fact you're not pulling your weight. The behavior that we're seeing from you is that you're not giving reports in on time, so other people are getting stuck in their work. The workflow is not continuing. You're stopping it because you're not putting in what you're supposed to do. And the impact is that the project is grinding to a halt. Now, we have to discuss this seriously, and you have to try and let me know how you're going to resolve this issue. Put the ball firmly in their court, not in yours. Ball in their court, because it's not your job. If someone's a professional and they've been there a while and they're in this project team, there's a reason they're there. And if they're not doing their job, and they know they're not doing their job, let's be honest. At the end of the day, you just tell them, okay, this is unacceptable. It has to change. Use the SBI, give them the situation, behavior, and the impact it's having, and then you ask them the question: how are you going to resolve this issue? And make sure that it's the ball's in their court, and they can't just say, "Oh, it's not for me to say." So, well, if you want me to tell you, unfortunately, we're going to be in another type of meeting. If I need to tell you, so just leave that open for them. So the door's open, but they know that if they don't give an answer to this, there are going to be consequences, and the ball is firmly in their side of the court.
Yes.
And then if that doesn't work, then it's back to a desk situation where you're going to start talking about what the consequences will be if they don't fix it.
Okay.
Rob, I just want to double down on this one. Sometimes, because everybody is playing a role in an organization: managers, senior managers, directors, vice presidents, senior vice presidents. Now, the new thing what I am listening is that you should not be acting very bossy. When we talk about consequences, sometimes leaders as well think twice to get into that shoe and talk that way. So what do you have to comment on that?
Well, I have to comment that's a lack of managerial courage.
Yes. Correct.
I'm sorry to say it like that. It's very blunt, but
that's exactly what I wanted to hear.
People, they're just trying. I've met people like that too. They shove it under the carpet, but then it becomes an issue for the next manager that has to horribly take over from them because it's a big mess. Because it happened to me several times. I've had to take over teams where it's been a huge mess because what happened before was just wasn't happening basically. And this kind of behavior where people, because it's a normal human behavior too, is not to enjoy conflict. No one enjoys conflict.
Right.
as a manager, you need to be able to deal with it, yeah, and you need to be able to have, and that's why these techniques exist, and that's why you need to have a certain number of techniques and a certain amount of expertise in dealing with these things. It's not just let me deal with it like I deal with everything else. No, it's really an expertise which actually transfers very well into your personal life too. To be honest.
All right. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
I
you
know
for
what
your
I need to
question.
do on
Brent.
Tuesday.
Yeah. Let me know how it goes. Yeah. Go line.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much. And guys, how are we doing here? We have crossed over 60 minutes. The event was scheduled for 60 minutes, but I still have people with microphones and asking questions. So, Rob, if you game, then we're going to go ahead. What do you say?
Yeah, I'm always game. Yeah.
All
No
right.
worries.
So here we go,
No worries.
people. Show us some love, and we continue talking to you here, taking your questions. And I know Rob is teaching leadership to leaders. Whatever we discussed today, it's no less than reading a book and live conversations, like one-on-one question answers. These are great value adds. If you follow both of us, like this post, then we post the recording here. You will get to know about it. Because we don't know anyone, Rob. We really want to share it, but the way the algorithm works is that because how do we share to people right now? The recording is going to be processed later. So I'm just answering what people are asking question about. So you follow us, then you get to know when the recording is up. And over to Michael. Let us know where you're from. What's the question? What's going on?
Hi. Thank you for this meeting, for the invitation. My name is 𝗱𝗂𝗰𝘂𝗹𝘁. I'm financial accounting from Germany.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Michael. Nice to meet you.
Hi. My question is a very quick one. I work. I'm a German and also South American, and I work on international basis. And I work with people from different countries and in other countries themselves, also via Teams and so on. And sometimes I get the feeling that some conversations, not that they get difficult because not only because of the personality, maybe because everybody has his personality and his skills and so on, but about the nationality, the thinking of their thinking. If you are very serious or you laugh too much, then you don't get you understand what I mean. And
I do.
I would like your opinion about that and how could I handle it. I think I could investigate how each nation thinks and how they are and so on. But what is your opinion about that?
Well, I'll give you. Well, that's a fantastic question. Thank you very much for that, Michael. Yeah, it's a very good one. Yeah. So there's one thing I can indicate to you. There's one place because I've not got time to go into in too much detail, but I can give you a very good pointer. There's someone called Geert Hofstede. So that's Geert Hofstede, which I can't pronounce it. It's Dutch. So Hofstede. Hofstede, and he did an amazing amount of research on interculturality, and intercultural management. So if you want to learn more about that, you should have a good read of his stuff because he's really the big expert in that area. But outside of that, my advice to you is, generally speaking, is to think global and act local. Yeah. What I mean by that is, if you're in several different areas, I'll give you an example. For example, let's say I've got a meeting with an American and a Japanese person. Yeah. And so the American person, he's wanting to get straight to the point. He wants to sign the contract. Yeah, he wants to. He's not good. There's going to be no BS. He just wants to get straight to the point, sign the contract. Yeah. But then you've got a Japanese guy that's there too. Yeah. And that Japanese guy, he's not going to act the same way at all, is he? He's, for example, let's start off with giving the business card. You give the business card to American, he's going to put it straight in his pocket so he doesn't forget to take it. Yeah. Japanese, you have to give the business card with both hands to make sure that it's a sign of respect. You have to bow when you give the card, when he gives you the card, I'm sorry. Then you have to place it next to you during the entire meeting. You do not put it in your pocket. Yeah, this is a huge insult. Yeah. So all these kind of rituals, that surround communication, are going to be very important to learn in each individual area. Now, there's hundreds of examples. We could be talking about the Middle East, where there's a lot of very, very what we call a high context culture. And Japanese is also high context culture, where the verbal word is more important than the written word. Yeah. So the example to say to, if you're in the Middle East and you say to someone in Dubai, well, let's sign the deal today. Yeah, well, let's not. How's your family? Because the guy wants to know who he's doing business with. He doesn't care about the contract. In fact, he wants more to know who you are. Yeah. So you have to really, you have to basically adapt to the culture you're in. And I signed a very big deal. I won't tell you what it was, but there was a very big deal once. I saw, who was it with? Was it Kuwait or was it? No, it was Dubai. Was it Dubai? Oh no, it was Saudi Arabia. and it was Saudi Arabia, and I signed a massive deal with them. But the day that we signed the deal, my bosses were all panicking and crying nearly because it was a big deal. And I shook hands with the guy and said, "That's great, thank you very much." And he said, "This is fantastic. Let's do business." Blah blah blah. And okay, so 2 months later, still no contract. Yeah, but the money was already coming in, and a boss of mine said, "Yeah, well, where's the contract?" I said, "Who cares?" I said, "The guy, you'll probably get the contract 6 months, but they're already sending money and they're already doing business with us. So why are you getting yours?" I said, "It's not in their culture, to be worried about the contract." I shook hands with the guy. The contract is done. Yeah.
Okay.
They'll never go back on their word. Yeah. But to go into these things in more detail, I would definitely suggest to you to read on 𝗔𝗀𝗄𝗏, because this is where I got a lot of this information from my personal experience, but also from reading through 𝗔𝗀𝗄𝗏. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you for the advice and the answer.
You're very welcome, Michael.
Michael, thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much. Bye.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Okay.
Hello, Cecilia.
Hi. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
Yeah, I suddenly joined this when I was just browsing the LinkedIn. I just joined this group, and I used to see Robert's this one KPI. This got attracted me a lot. I mean, apart from key performance indicator, you have given so many names for the KPI.
Ah, yeah. You're talking about the book. Keep people involved, interested, inspired, and informed. Yeah.
So I am basically from India. Okay, I am running a software company here. My doubt is I am trying to make a second level people in my organization, but I couldn't do it because I keep trying, but people are not coming to that fold because we are a small company only. Okay, what is your suggestion to make the people to work on that for my second level? Because for each and everything, I myself cannot go and do the work, right? Do the follow up, do the work, all that.
Okay. So there's a problem with the following up on their work. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I think one of the main things about that is to be structured. To have a very structured approach. Basically, is to ensure that when they're given objectives, we can go and talk about objectives all day, but this, to be sure that we're very specific regarding the objectives. I think we all know this word, the SMART word. Yes. So to say that objective has to be smart, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timed. So that's SMART. And I think that's really, really important to insist to make SMART objectives, but then to ensure that we come back to those every month on a monthly basis, not just wait until 2 or 3 months. Make sure we get back to those on a monthly basis, to see if anyone's going astray, because that's when the feedback has to happen. That's when, okay, do you need help? Do you need some coaching? Do you understand what you're doing? You're falling behind here. What's the reason for that? But you have very, very structured meetings. As long as the objectives are very smart in the first instance, you'll be able to do that on a very regular basis. And I'd suggest doing it on a monthly basis for your people.
Okay. I'll try to do it. Follow it up.
Yeah, and then SMART. If you need any more advice on SMART, I think I wrote about it in the book as well, KPIs, and I also wrote about it in another book, which is probably more important regarding your question, but 1-to-1.
Yeah,
that's another book of mine. So I think you would get a lot of information that you need in there. Yeah.
Sure, I'll get into that. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And next question is Jakub. Sorry, we lost you last time, man. Okay, you're back.
Yes. Hey, how is it going, Prashant? Good to see you again. Ça va, Robert?
Yeah, ça va très bien.
So I got a question right here. Prashant, we've talked on Tuesday, I believe. So when Robin was here, I got a question regarding Robert. Are you some kind of like a HR leader? You understand a lot about the organization and how to handle specific stuff, right? So I got a question in here. How do you feel? We live in a kind of hard times right now, right? The sales are going down. Companies are getting rid of the employees. Managers are training a lot of those people. Let's say we have a department that is, the best department within the network, going over the statistics, 30% versus planned 5%, training all this, you basically start to lay off those people, right? You're trying to reduce the cost. But you're aware that in the near future, you're going to have to hire hundreds of people, retrain them, basically, have to do it on and on again. it's frustrating on your managers. Your managers are getting that huge connection with those associates, right? To get them productive, to be one of the best within the network. And let's say manager does something a little bit out of line, but something that is not written within the policies. And it's getting written up for the moral part of this whole situation, something that wasn't written in the policies of the company. But how do you feel about the moral kind of consequences of the manager of the best team within the network that is aware of the future? Because, you're laying off all these people and you've trained all these people, you created some kind of relation. I believe that, a lot of people says that you don't own nothing to the associates, which I kind of disagree with. Because, you work with these people. You want to make sure that these people understand what are the standards, what's black and white, what are the expectations. You spend a lot of time picking out, micromanaging. But what are your feelings on like getting in trouble for, having the best good connection with the people, reducing turnover by 200%?
No, well, I think I'll answer that very directly. If you've reduced turnover by 200%, your boss should be actually congratulating you. At the end of the day, really, it's beyond my understanding. If we're going to have to look at rehire after that, I can't understand why you would be getting in any trouble at all for that kind of behavior. Because, in fact, for me, it's the opposite, If you didn't know your people at all, and you weren't managing them properly, and you didn't have that connection with your people, it's there that you're not doing your job as a manager, as far as I'm concerned, So I think it's exactly the opposite of what I would expect. I think, at the end of the day, be very interesting. You should look at some of the Gallup polls on the cost of turnover. Is absolutely enormous, and it's something that's not well calculated by organizations. Sometimes they don't know how big it is, and in fact, they might find that they're making basically a huge economic disaster, catastrophe, even, by taking that approach to basically fire everyone and then have to rehire. It might actually cost them much more doing that, than keeping the people they have and training them well and riding the storm, as we say,
No, I totally agree, but there's also a difference between, people with a lot of years of service. I'm working with people that have been working with the company for 50 years, they know all the policies, they know all the stuff, how to, kind of go over the system just to keep their job and keep their pay whatever range they're at right now, up to 45 years. It's just interesting, I'm from Poland. I've seen that you actually work in Warsaw. So
I did,
it's a little bit different approach in here than I think in Europe. But I was always kind of around people that, we're managing, we're bosses, and you just got to give in to people, make sure that,
Yeah, but I think it's a sad situation because, in fact, as I try and tell some CEOs that I work with, you can't manage with an Excel spreadsheet, right? I mean, it doesn't work. Okay, you're managing people, not Excel spreadsheets. At the end of the day, the results will come, but it's called being employee centric, and there's this whole big discussion about what we call the service profit chain, which means that if you give better service to your employees, they will give better service to your clients, and they will give you more money. It's a very, very simple equation, which a lot of, very high up people don't seem to understand, And this is because they're getting too used to what we call asset managers who are only interested in the bottom line and don't really care about how we get to the bottom line. And that's a big problem today.
Oh, yeah. Not the big picture, but the end of real year results over there. So
exactly.
In some cases. So no, I totally understand. Robert, thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
Okay. Do widzenia.
Do widzenia. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, because I've just realized that I have some formal training because we went through so many different areas. That I have some formal training that can be brought up to people's attention. Which is basically on my online school. Which is actually on this subject. It's called Difficult Discussions. The training. I think I gave you some information before regarding that.
I sure will. So guys, everyone, I have posted in the comments. In the comments, we have a link to Rob's school. And Rob has a special offer for whoever wants to sign up for that course. It's an online course where Rob has done it by himself. 32% off today. Rob want to do is he wants to make sure that he's helping the managers around the globe so that they're doing the right things so that they are helping the organizations. So the link in the comments here, if you scroll down the comment, and then that's the link out there. Give me a thumbs up if you get that link. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ping Rob about it. So we are here with a mission to help people. We are here to make sure that people are learning while they're browsing social media. But LinkedIn is very different. Everybody's a professional out here. They are here for a purpose. And the purpose is to get better and better and better. But how? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'd just like to come back to something, if I may,
sure.
Which was asked at the beginning, just to add something, just to put an add to this. There's a various tools. There's a very good tool. Where I think what I said at the beginning of this discussion was it's not because someone invites you to an argument that you have to go. You have to attend. And even better than that is find ways to actually avoid putting yourself in positions where it's going to become difficult. And one of those models, business models or management models, is better to say that way, is situational management. It's to do with one of the questions was asked earlier on about one-to-one meetings. What's required from people? Yeah, because it comes back also to the cultural question that was asked as well. So you've got telling people to do things, selling people, on things, participating with people, or delegating. Yeah. So it's basically telling, selling, participating, and delegating. So it's basically the theory of Blanchard, Kenneth Blanchard and 𝗱𝗏. It's called situational management, and I suggest strongly to managers everywhere. Yeah, that's one of the models that everyone basically has to really, really have in their toolbox. Yeah,
right.
Because understanding the individuals in your team and knowing how to, basically change or be agile in the way you're managing people, this model can really help people with that. Yeah,
for sure. And Rob, I tell you what, if people learn from the best, they're going to save a lot of time. And
that's for sure.
Because there's so much noise on the internet, small tips, which definitely gets a tool in their toolkit, and they are all game and use it and instantly use it. So that's what it is. All right, people, show me some love that you are there. How are you all doing? What's going on? We have people. Okay, so we got 2 questions. If anybody else has a question, let us know. Raise your hands. If you want to DM or put in a comment, happy to do that. If you haven't followed us yet, we do this for people, and the intent is to get the best. And over to you, Rob. We are like 30 minutes up. Just a reminder to you so that you know that you have overshot. We have overshot, but I'm very grateful to you.
No worries. If we can give some more help to someone during that time, I'm very up for it. Yeah,
that's so kind of you. And over to you, Swapna. 20 seconds. We're going to do quick questioning here, Rob, because I just want to make sure that people are getting their questions through it. So 20, 30 seconds. Folks, put in your question, straight to the point, and then we take it forward. Over to you, Swapna.
Thank you, Prashant. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Swapna. Yeah. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice meeting you too. So I thank you for your valuable patience and Prashant to bringing up this topic today. So my question is straightforward. So how do we be good at negotiations during the conflict times, whether it can be good or bad situations? Second question, how well we need to negotiate when we are adapting to the new technologies? And third one, how well we need to communicate within our team to showcase that we can do more than what we can achieve, to show something during our valuable time on return on investment. So these are the 3 parameters I would like to know and share your experience.
Yeah. Okay, Swapna, it's very good. The 3 questions in one. That's excellent.
Thank you, Swapna.
So it's good that all the 3 questions are actually related to one another, because the answer, I think the key is basically to ensure you spend the right amount of time with the right people. Yeah. So basically, for me, in order to ensure that you're getting the proper return on investment that we're talking about in the organization, you have to spend the right time in the right way. And what I mean by that is, it comes back to something that was asked earlier on, was to do with the fact of having set objectives, and then making sure there's control. Yeah, because in fact, we can always talk about delegation, having to delegate to people, but delegation also requires control. Yeah, you have to come back from time to time to find out how the person's doing, because you may have delegated to someone over their level of expertise.
Right.
That's a good thing to train someone to become better. Yeah, that's fine. But at the same time, yeah, there has to be control. So to ensure, do they need to require extra coaching? Do they require mentoring? Do they require any, I don't know, other types of resources, for example, yeah, to attain their objective or be able to get towards their objective, yeah? So these control points, what I call almost critical control points, I would call them, these monthly meetings, I think they are really the cornerstone of managing. Does that answer broadly your question? I think there was a part of the question I missed. I think it was the first question. What was the first question again? Could you repeat that for me, please?
The first question is how well we need to upgrade ourselves while conversation during the conflict with the negotiation skills. What is the model we need to follow?
Right. Okay. Good. Okay. So I think that's a very good question, Swapna. And my answer to that first question, I'm sorry, I got the second two, but not the first one. So the first one, yeah, I would say is to use the techniques that are available to us. Yeah. So when I'm talking about techniques, I'm talking about the SBI model, yeah, the situation, behavior, impact model, and to use the desk model, yeah, because negotiation, yeah, sometimes when you're negotiating. The most important thing for me is to plan the negotiation. You don't go to any negotiation without planning it, yeah.
Right.
And basically, you have to know what's really try and discover what the win is going to be for the other person from your position, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to produce a win for the other person in this negotiation, yeah? Because it's not about. At the end of the day, making a decision and saying that no one wins, yeah, because that can happen, yeah. So basically, that's called a compromise, isn't it? Yeah, when you've made a compromise. But actually, what you're looking for is something more than a compromise. You're actually trying to get yourself to a position where we actually do agree on what the outcome is that we both require, yeah. And when that's done correctly, that requires a lot of questioning on the person's position. So during these one-to-one meetings, for example. You have to be very careful to use all of what I would call the pertinent questions. And the pertinent questions are what, why, when, where, who, and how. Because a lot of the time, the people, they haven't addressed even those questions themselves. So in fact, there's sometimes a lack of understanding on their own part about what they do want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be really in a position where in negotiation, you don't forget to pose those questions all the time. What, why, when, where, who, and how, because sometimes people will ask for things. They might know what they want. They might know why they want it, but they might not have any idea about how it should be done. And perhaps it's actually impossible what they're asking for. But if you remember those questions, yeah, you'll always be able to drill down to the basic, the fundamentals. Yeah.
Thank you, Rob, because sometimes by experience we go into the circles. So this is a trick I learned. We need to negotiate ourselves. Thank you.
Exactly. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Swapna. All right, so Muhammad, how are you? Over to you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Robert. How's everything?
Hello, Mohammed. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Really, thank you for this informative podcast. I really enjoyed it a lot. Okay. I joined up a little bit late, but really appreciate it. So going directly to the question I have 15 years of medical devices experience, mainly in the sales field. Mm-hmm. However, one of the many challenges that I face in my work environment is understanding the corporate environment and understanding the politics within the organization itself. Mm-hmm. Okay. So are there courses that can do this? This is one thing that I can work on myself as an area of development. This is one question. The other question is, apart from your manager, where you have one-to-one discussion with your manager on a regular basis, which I'm lucky to have on a quarter basis, actually. But do we have the role of HR to have such a one-to-one as well to work on your own personal development? Because I don't see that the HR are sending us on one-to-one or something like this. Can we reach out to HR, or is it a little bit scary? We cannot do this.
Sorry, I have to understand better. The politics understood. The one-to-one thing that you've just asked about, Mohammed. Is this to ask HR for training in that respect, or is that what you meant?
Yes. To work on your personal development.
Okay, on your own personal development. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think
if you don't have it from your one-to-one with the manager.
Yeah, well, I think then you have to look for other sources, don't you? I mean, it's, at the end of the day, I think there's so many people out there that can be helpful. Yeah, I mean, in terms of management and education, there's no lack. What I would suggest to you, however, is if you do if you do decide to take in hand a little bit your own personal development, be very aware, that you make sure that you do that with someone that has got some experience, that has got a resume where they can actually prove that they have been a manager, that they know how to do this, they know about personal development. So I would say that's, for example, I'll give you a very concrete example. Yeah. So if someone talks to you about time management, for example, and they start to discuss time management with you, if they don't mention the Eisenhower matrix, they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. This is just a very quick example so if the Eisenhower matrix is the most important matrix for time management, if someone says they're a time management expert and doesn't even mention that, so you have to be very careful about who you take on board to help you with your personal development. What I would suggest to you, there's a very broad book that I wrote on this about development as a manager and a leader, how to become an effective leader, which is a good starting point. It's called Time to Manage. It's quite simple. It's called Time to Manage, and that might be a good starting point for you, yeah, because it talks about how to develop oneself in terms of becoming better at managing your own time. What sort of some of the techniques and some of the ways that you can do that in a very concrete way. And there's another book that I would say for self-development. It's not my book, in fact, this time. It's so that one was mine, Time to Manage. But there's another book by, I don't know if you might have read this, by James Clear, which is called Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of this book.
Yeah, it's perfect. I have read it before.
You've read it? Well, read it again, because that's probably one of the best books that's ever been written. And there's another book by a guy called Kenneth Blanchard, which is called The 1 Minute Manager. And that's another must read, yeah, for personal development. Yeah.
Thank you. And Robert, regarding the first question on how can you work on the politics and the environment with
well, this is a very difficult question, because it's every context is different. With the politics, my best advice is to ignore it until you can't. I mean, this is. I know it's a bit tongue in cheek, yeah, as an answer, but it is the correct answer, because people don't get involved in petty politics within organizations. Yeah, I mean, really concentrate, focus on the job, focus on what's positive, focus on what, if you're having already one-to-one meetings with your manager, I think that's a very positive sign. Yeah. And I think, if you have any issues which were of a political nature, yeah, I would suggest the best thing to do is to discuss those if they're problematic, yeah, with your direct boss. Yeah. But certainly don't discuss them with people below you, and don't discuss them with people above you. Yeah, discuss it with your direct boss. Yeah, that would be my advice.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for this.
You're very welcome.
All right, folks, how we doing? Let us know. Show us some love. Have some water. Our session is going extremely long, and Rob, I want to thank you once again. I tell you what, it's like hour and a half of like 40 decades, and we are giving mental models to people, which you also have in your course, which the link is in the description, which is going to save, I think it's like $150, and you get like 30% discount. And you wanted me to make sure that you are giving it to the right people who are serious about things and saving time in life.
Yeah, it's not a public deal. I mean, this is something only for people that are actually on the LinkedIn or
exactly.
That's it. Yeah, there's no one else gets this deal.
Correct. Yeah.
Hi, Robert. How are you guys?
I'm very well. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
nice to meet you.
Very well. It's nice to meet you as well, Robin and Mr. Prash. Robert, I just want to ask a quick question in terms of the corporate bullying, where you get to be in a space that you're not free to express yourself. And how do you come about that particular instance, or how do you can actually challenge it to benefit yourself and the corporate in that bullying, please?
Do you mean if you're the victim of the bullying? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, if you're the victim of the bullying, correct? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. If you're a victim of the bullying, well, I mean, the bullying is obviously it's very toxic. It can cause fear. It can cause stress. Cause a lot of very bad things in any organization. Yeah. So my very first thing would be to say is try and dissociate the fact of the bullying from yourself. What I mean by that is it's very simple. It's just to say that, you're not the cause of the bullying. Bullies are bullies, yeah? Okay? So you get that straight in your own mind first, yeah? Fix that in your mind. Bullies are usually people who have a lack of self-confidence, who have no aspirations, but their only aspiration actually to make other people's lives miserable, yeah? So, which is not a great aspiration, is it? Yeah. So, and most of the time they're cowards as well, which you have to know. Give yourself the proper mental talk that you need to give yourself. Yeah. So what I mean by that is, don't be telling yourself this is your fault. Yeah. Be telling yourself this person is a coward. This person is not, should not be in a management position. Yeah. Give yourself the right information, the right self-talk first and foremost. Yeah. That's the very first thing. Secondly, if the person is acting completely, in a way which is too toxic, which is, if there are threats involved, this kind of thing, yeah, you have to take that up with someone higher up in the organization. Yeah, you can't allow that to continue for your own sake and for the sake of the organization. You can't allow it to continue. And if the person above or the person to the side, which might be HR in that case, is not listening, yeah, I think I said this earlier. At the end of the day, I would start to look for elsewhere, to work elsewhere, yeah, if no one's going to help, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Try and get the help. Yeah. Try and get the help first. Stick your hand up and get the help, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for the insight. That's quite helpful,
Sure.
Well, you're very welcome.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right, cheers. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. And folks, if you haven't followed us, then it's time to follow us. Check out the comments. All right. Over to you. What's going on?
Hello. Thank you. Nothing. Having a good day. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Thanks, Charlie.
Great.
Nice to hear you.
Good. Yeah. Just very nice to meet you. I have a question. I'm running a social media platform that I built out. Which took us about 5 years to build out. And right now my main focus is setting up a 585 platform network in 195 different nations. What challenges do you think I'll face when approaching these different countries, or might face while approaching these countries with our new services?
Well, I think we touched it. Well, thank you very much for this very complex question. Yeah, this would be the object of a massive discussion on its own. I think the first thing is I think I said it earlier today because someone asked about intercultural aspects of management, and I think the thing is to think. Basically, the basic advice is to think global but act local. Yeah. So basically what you've got to take into account, yeah, because you were talking about negotiating, yeah, basically, or negotiating or selling your product in lots of different places, yeah?
Yeah, now we're giving away 19,500 leases. I figured if I give away 100 in each country and then decided to try to find 3 that would be willing to host and work with us, it might up the odds a little bit on being able to kind of get out there and get people knowing who we are.
Well, it sounds like it's difficult for me to give you any direct advice because I don't understand your operation and stuff,
right?
To the point where I could give you
maybe
decent
a deeper
advice.
Discussion, maybe a word or something.
So I think I need more time to understand exactly what your business is and what you're trying to do.
Okay.
But I think my basic advice is just to say to you that there are some people, that it's depending on the place, they're going to have to be approached a bit differently. Yeah, I spoke about this. They're highly contextual. So basically, meaning that the spoken word is more important than the contractual and so forth. So that has to be taken into account. So, like if you're dealing with the African continent, or you're dealing with the Middle East, or you're dealing with Japan, for example, you're going to have to be much more soft on the contractual side. Yeah. Whereas if you're dealing with Northern Europe, Britain, the UK, this kind of thing, you're going to have to be much more on a contractual based base. Yeah, if you see what I mean. Yeah, because that's going to be very important. And in Asia Minor as well, you're going to have to be important. It's going to be a mix between the two. Huh? Yeah, that's basic advice I can give you. If you want to go deeper into the subject, you feel free to contact me and drop me a mail. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely will.
Great. Thanks.
I hope that was helpful. Anyway, I hope
it was too, and I appreciate your time as well.
You're very welcome.
Okay, so we'll go to Sonder, and then we'll circle back to you.
I'll start. So
20 seconds for you.
Let's really go into the question. So, what are the unique challenges of conducting difficult conversation in a remote work setup compared to traditional office environments in terms of limited non-verbal cues, then technical hurdles and lack of informal communication? So, misinterpretation of tone. So
your question is that these are the challenges and you want to overcome it?
What are the unique challenges of conducting difficult conversation on a remote work setup. So comparing to the traditional office environment.
Okay, so what are the challenges in remote setup? Difficult conversations in a remote setup.
In terms of non-verbal cues, so the technical hurdles, the lack of informal communications, so misinterpretation of tone, so like this. So
sure. We discussed part of it, but Rob, you want to very briefly?
I think it's very briefly. It's I think we discussed this earlier, but
right.
Once again, I think when you're having virtual conversations with people, so basically on the net or you're basically on Zoom or whatever it is you're going to be on, what you have to be very careful about is for the first thing you have to insist that people have the camera turned on. Yeah. You don't have discussions with a blank camera. It's not very helpful. Yeah, you can't even see the person's face. So I think that's very important. Yeah. Also, you have to pay attention to the tone of voice and stuff that's used, of course. And so that's part of the non-verbal thing, isn't it? It's 20%. Basically, of your communication skills is going to come through in your tone of voice. So it's not just the words you use, but it's also the way that you say them is going to be extremely important on a Zoom call. Because it's even going to be more
live consulting. This is what you've been doing. And the great thing in today's thing, it was like people were global, everywhere, and the good thing is that people are asking very valid questions. And I'm going to take Dowd is back. Well,
we got Dowd back now.
Okay, Dowd, over to you. We can hear you now.
Yeah, good. I can hear you.
Good.
Great. Thanks very much.
Okay. Robertson, I got two questions for you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
For the good advices. We really appreciate it. Basically, I am brand new to this country, and originally I am from Afghanistan. And I came here last year, but I found my dream job. But I do have some issues with the communication. When I convey the message, I'm good, but when I'm listening, sometimes, I cannot catch everything. I mean, that is a little bit challenging for me. And sometimes I feel a little bit frustrated, just because I didn't study English for a very long time, but I'm improving. What is your best advice? This is question number one. And question number two is,
we're losing you. We are losing you.
What will be the one or two things that I can do in the X?
Can you repeat your last question? Yeah, repeat your second question.
Yeah, the last question is, Robertson, what would be the one or two things that I can do in an excellent fashion way that has the significant impact in my performance that I can add in?
Okay. Performance. Okay, good.
Thank you, Dowd.
Okay. I got an excellent question.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, and thank you, Robertson. We really appreciate your help, and that is the awesome advices. You guys are doing awesome. Thank you.
Okay, well, Dodd, I can give you some very, hopefully, I'm going to answer these questions well.
Yeah, I had a question.
The first question,
Robertson, where are you right now? You told that.
Yeah, where are you? Yeah.
You said
I'm driving a car. I mean, because I'm going to somewhere, and when I see this program, I love it, and that's why I raised these questions.
No. You said you are from Afghanistan, but which country you are in right now working?
I'm in the U.S.
Okay, good. Okay.
Oh, okay, great, fantastic. So I can situate that better the question.
Now we can answer.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, so concentrate.
To give you a little bit background regarding that one, because I worked in Afghanistan with the U.S. mission for a very long time, and I was very successful because I was dealing with the country management team, with the U.S. Embassy and USAID projects. But when I came to the U.S. with the native speakers, oh my gosh, just sometimes I feel I do nothing,
Well, lucky.
Practice.
Well, lucky, Dowd, you're not working with Scottish people. Because then you understand absolutely nothing. But no. So start with let me give you one little trick for the understanding issue. Yeah, it sounds to me like your English is pretty good. Yeah. I think there's two things. There's two habits that a lot of people have, and I can be accused of this sometimes. Concentrate on the questions that people are asking you, not on the response that you want to give. Yeah, you have to train yourself to do this. Yeah. So because a lot of the time what you do mentally is, and a lot of people do this, is your actually tendency to look at trying to start thinking about the answer to the questions someone's asking you instead of listening to them. Yeah. Okay. So that's one thing. Yeah. The other thing is there's no harm in communication to ask people to reformulate and you to reformulate when you don't understand. Yeah. Just say, if I understand correctly, this and this and this is what you said. Reformulate when you don't understand. Do not go away from a conversation not having understood what the person said, because that's just going to cause you stress. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong, and it actually shows that you actually care when you do reformulate things. It actually shows that you care about what the person's saying to you. It's actually part of what we call effective communication and effective listening. Yeah. So that's my piece of advice regarding your communication issue. Yeah. Regarding performance, Peter Drucker once said, and he's a great man, a great management consultant. He once said, "Before you manage time, you can manage nothing else." Yeah, which is absolutely true, right? Because if you can't manage your own time and you can't manage other people's time, that's absurd. Yeah. So I think one of the greatest performance issues that people have today, and has always been, but especially today, is time management. And I think people can't ignore how to use time correctly and ensure, you don't put yourself in stressful positions for no reason. Yeah. Give you a couple of clues regarding this. I've written a book on the subject which is called Time to Manage, so that's available on Amazon, for example. So that would be a very good read for you. I think that would really help your personal performance. It's my opinion. The other thing I would do is look at there's something called, and you can see this this is free. You can look at this on the internet. It's a great time management tool, which is called the Eisenhower Matrix. I mentioned it earlier on. Have a look at the Eisenhower Matrix. He was basically an ex-American president just after the Second World War. Great man who knew exactly what to do with making a difference between what's urgent and what's important and how these things mix together and how to use the matrix. So that's going to be an excellent tool for you.
All right. And
thank you, Mr. Singh, and thank you, Mr. Robertson. I got the answer. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to execute them effective from today. That was a very good piece of advices, and you guys are incredible. Thank you, and keep the good work.
Thank you very much, Dad. That's great. Thank you.
Thanks for the podcast. Has been really great. I appreciate. And what we're thinking about, you were talking about the narcissist relationship in the professional job. What can you define like the consequences that you may face in your behavior when you tolerate narcissist behavior with your boss or with somebody with support in the company, and that company support that person? When should you identify that you must leave?
Thank you very much. It's a very difficult question too, so thank you for that too. Because if I understood correct, how can you decide whether it's time to leave or not? Is that basically the question? Yeah.
No, not really when you have to leave, but maybe when you identify changing behavior in yourself that is affecting you, and then you say, "Oh, this is difficult," or you have to catch up that. Maybe that will affect you in a long-term period, even in another future opportunities.
Yeah. Okay. To be honest with you, I mean, in this particular case, I would seek professional advice. Because there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, if for example, when someone has a physical, you've got a cancer, you don't say, well, I'm not going to go and see the doctor because something bad might happen. No. So I would say it's like a cancer. So basically it can cause too much stress, it lead various issues with nervousness and of course depression and all this. And if you feel that you're getting to that stage and that your own behavior is altering due to this, I would seek professional help. Yeah. This will also allow you to make give you a better basis for making a decision. Yeah, that would be my advice to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, thank you, sir. Rob, I think we have answered, I don't know how many questions today, but a lot of them.
Well, it's been fun. Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Some very interesting questions, very interesting people. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Good thing is, Rob, people are opening up. There is a common thing. And every question is not just answering that individual, but also answering questions of people, which is there in their mind. They may not be able to ask because of whatever reason. That is totally fine. But every scenario is real. Every person who's asking that question is real. In this chat GPT AI world, these are the real problems what we are facing, right?
Real people, real problems for real people,
Right.
not for machines.
Yeah, and good thing is we're getting a response from a real person. And I tell you what, you're an expert in this domain. And folks, do not hesitate to follow us if you haven't yet. We got the link in the description for the course from Rob. That's what is going to really help. I have done it myself, and it is really helpful for sure. Okay, so I think, Rob, that's it. We are 60 minutes we scheduled, and we are just maybe 75 minutes beyond 60 minutes. So
no, it's fine. That's great. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for hosting this, Prashant. It's excellent. Yeah.
Any closing notes from your side, Rob?
My closing note, right, is we all have difficult conversations at one time or another during our lives, whether it's outside or inside work. But I'm not a life coach. I'm certainly not a life coach. I should underline, so I'm basically a professional coach for people in the workplace. My final piece of advice to people is really not only listen to other people as well as you can, because conflict often arises from the fact we've not listened correctly, we've not reformulated to make sure we understand what someone actually said to us. And the other thing is the way we talk to ourselves. Be confident in oneself and to have a self-talk which is realistic, and at the same time know where you have to improve. Know yourself, because if you don't have the confidence, your teams are always looking to you as a leader, and if you lack confidence, your teams will see that. So work on yourself, before you work on other people. So use your own time well and use other people's time well. That's what I would my closing piece of advice.
Couldn't agree more, Rob. Work on yourself. And you know what? Every sports player, if you just see them, they're playing a game maybe in a week, in a month, once in a week, and once in a month, but they are practicing every day. Just so
that's for sure.
They are hitting the ball right. They are holding the ball right. They're playing no matter what game it is, maybe soccer, maybe baseball, maybe cricket, whatever game it is.
Well, my favorite example is, I have to say,
sure.
I have to say, it's Tiger Woods. Come on. The greatest golfer of all time. Because really, it's such a difficult game. I know, because I'm really rubbish at it. But it is a very, very difficult game, a very technical game. And when you see the results that this guy has had, that's not through natural skill. That's because I'm sure this guy's hands were bleeding with practice.
I'm sure.
Because he is just such a great golfer. There's only one way to get there, and it's just hard work. To be honest.
I know that Nike was shooting an ad, and Tiger Woods hit the ball, I don't know from what distance, and it just goes directly in the pot. And I was like, oh my God. And that's,
he's just unbelievable, the guy. He's unbelievable.
Thank you so much, Rob, for your time here. Really appreciate it. For every one of you, follow us so that you can get updated about these things. We wish everyone lots of luck. There's a link in the description of this particular event where you can avail the 30% discount of Rob's special signature course of difficult conversation. That's going to really help you out. It's only for serious people who think they're a sportsman, who think that practice is going to make them better. So with that said, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, show me some love. Follow us on LinkedIn, and together we make this world a better place by doing difficult conversations much better. Rob, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prashant. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this particular event. When you follow us, do hit the bell icon. No matter where you are, my purpose is to help people, and Rob shares the mission to enable the people with the right leadership skills. We both come together here to enable people. So whenever we post, whenever we are in an event, you get to know immediately, and you can choose to join or not join. But knowing is important, is what we think. And Rob, bye now. Bye, everyone. Signing out. Talk to you in another event.